Hello students, in today's class we are going to discuss about attitude. Now understand that attitude is a psychological construct about any place, thing or object. For example, I say that of all the fruits, I like mango. Okay, so that's my positive attitude towards the fruit which is mango. Or if I say that I like cleanliness, okay, that depicts my positive attitude, okay, my psychological construct, my mental disposition about having clean environment. Okay, so in this topic, understand, we are going to discuss what is the content of attitude. Okay, in the structure of attitude we are going to discuss the famous ABC model, the affective, the behavioral and the cognitive component of attitude. In the functional part, we are going to discuss about the Daniel Katz theory, how various functions, okay, they have their own utility. Okay. Then we are going to discuss how attitude is related to thought and process. Not only change in attitude is essential, but that change in attitude has to be depicted in the behavior. For example, the government has brought in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, but are the people using the toilets? Are they getting habitual to it? Is that coming in their action oriented approach? So that is the behavior, the outcome of the change of attitude or the action oriented approach is the behavioral change. Okay, then we are going to discuss about the moral and the political attitude. Now we are going to see in moral attitude that there is reverence, there is truthfulness. Okay, we'll discuss such over here. In the political attitudes, we are again going to discuss that the spirit of patriotism, right, the spirit of democratic value inculcation in the people. In social influence and persuasion, we are going to see that how social influence in its 3 degrees, okay, it affects the people, and how persuasion by its two major theories we are going to discuss over here, central root and the peripheral root. Okay, we see that, for example, if there is a give it up campaign, we have seen in Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. So we had seen that how government tried to persuade the people to give up the LPG subsidy, right, for all those people who are above the BPL line. So by this topic of attitude, this is basically your psychological ethics part. You are going to use this in your case studies, that what kind of attitude is required in a bureaucrat. Okay, and you will supplement it with aptitude and emotional intelligence, and then you will write it in your answers that how the bureaucrat is bringing the implementation of the government scheme at the very grassroots level for the welfare of all the sections of the society. Is it clear? Let's proceed over here. So as I've already discussed, that people may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. For example, if I say that I like mountains, I feel at peace with the mountains, right? That is my attitude, that is my mental disposition, that is my psychological construct about the hill station or the mountains, right? If I say I support fitness or I like to be fit, now that is my positive attitude. And if I go to a fitness campaign, then that is my positive and strong attitude to support the Fit India campaign. Is it clear? Now, I've already discussed this attitude. It is a psychological tendency or construct towards, it can be any place, event, idea, right? Now, see over here, what is a positive attitude and a strong attitude? For example, if I say there is a social worker, okay, and he is very deeply committed to Swachh Bharat mission campaign, and he voluntarily conducts whatever the drives are being conducted, he voluntarily participates in that drives in the locality. So this depicts that the person is having a positive attitude for cleanliness, and strong is depicted because he is going and participating, right? Now, another example, a citizen, he speaks a lot about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Abhiyan, right? But when there is any campaign or any kind of advocacy is happening in his constituency, he is not sitting, he's not going out, he's just sitting in his room and he's not participating. Now that depicts a positive, okay, that's a positive attitude towards change, but a weak action oriented approach. Is it clear? Now, another example let's take over here. A citizen, he is disliking the Election Commission of India's approach, okay? And it is saying that recently there were Delhi elections. We had seen that a lot of people were coming forward and criticizing all those things. It was in current affairs. But what happens that ultimately no step is being taken. So it is again a negative approach, okay? And it is a weak attitude because no positive steps are being taken about it. Now, previously in 2017, what happened that protests were happening regarding the passage of Citizenship Amendment Act in Delhi, right? We saw that a few citizens were coming together with a very strong emotional appeal for that, okay? So that depicts a strong attitude, but a negative attitude towards the government program. Is it clear? So this is how it is divided for your study. Now, there are various factors which lead to attitude formation. Okay. First of all, religion. Example, you see, in Sikh, you see, they have this custom of langar. So they are feeding the people, right? They are learning this community harmony, right? They are learning this concept of generosity. So that is what we learned, the attitudinal development, because seva bhav, that is coming in the people from the childhood. They are being groomed like that, right? Culture. In northeastern culture, there is a lot of emphasis on gender equality, right? So that is being seen in their culture. As you see, they grow up as adults. You see a lot of women in northeast are working, right? That depends on their how the society is developing. Friends, if you see your friends who's also preparing for civil services exams, and each day you're talking to your friend and you guys are competing, I have written these many answers, I have written that many answers. Now that is going to motivate you, right? That is going to motivate you, give you a positive attitude for the exam, that I have to write more and more exams. Now the family, we learn compassion, brotherhood, all these things. Similarly, teacher Abdul Kalam is a very classic example of having an attitude of courage, of conviction, right? Past experiences, whatever journey we have gone through, we have learned the perseverance. All those of you who had written the mains and yet are there to be in the merit list, you have learned from your past experiences that it requires a lot of perseverance to crack this exam, right? So such things, feedback, yes, you learn such things from the factors, and UPSC has asked the question regarding this. Now, our classic ABC model. A over here is the affective model. Now, this affective is basically the emotional component. Okay, this is the emotional component of attitude. That means, how do you feel about any object? For example, if I see snake, I start shivering and I sweating and I get very feared, right? I am scared of snakes. When I see a tiger approaching me, I get scared. That is my emotional component, right? Second over here is your uh, cognitive component. Now, cognitive is basically your mental component. Whenever I think about the snakes, I start trembling in fear, right? That is merely by the act of thinking, right? That is your cognitive component, how you think about any object. Now, behavior is when I see the snake next to me, I start running. Okay, so behavior over here is basically your action oriented approach. Is it clear? It is the action oriented approach. Now let me explain this with another example over here. Effective model is like emotional component. I like greenery. I feel at very, my emotional segment is that I feel at very peace when I'm around the green environment, right? Cognitive component. When I think about the mountains in Himachal Pradesh, the mountains in Kasol, whenever I had a trip, I feel at peace just merely sitting here and thinking, oh, so such greenery, such fresh air and all. I feel very good about it, right? Merely by thinking. And action oriented approaches that I not only think about clean and green environment, I go and I participate and I support over here Green India campaign. I go in the plantation drive, Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. I go and participate over there. Now that is the behavior which is being depicted in my attitudinal change. Is it clear? Or in my attitude. Let's take it from let me explain you it from a governance perspective, right? Now many a times, let's take an example over here. Let's take an example of Digital India campaign. Understand this. Many a times, uh, government has been trying a lot since after 2016 to bring in or to implement the Digital India campaign. Emotionally, it has been trying to uh, affect the people that why not go cashless. That is the emotional appeal or the emotional component of Digital India campaign. Cognitively, when you go to a shopkeeper's shop, okay, when you go to a shopkeeper's shop and not cognitively, when you go to the shopkeeper's shop and you start using the UPI, okay, you are having the transaction which is done cashless. So that is the correct application of Digital India campaign, where the emotional appeal has been converted into the action oriented approach. Okay, cognitively it is you are sitting at home, okay, and you're thinking that I will go to so and so place and I will go and have the payments done automatically. Like your thought process is always ki, I will go cashless. Okay, I will do the beam transfer. I will start using this. You develop that positive attitude for for Digital India campaign. Is it clear? Another example you can take over here, which UPSC has asked in past year question regarding the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, if we discuss about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Now understand over here, in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, emotionally government has been trying to tell people about this. He please use toilets, right? Lot of schemes and lot of influential personalities have also come up to make the emotional appeal, to make this cleanliness drive possible, right? And after that, what happens that it has affected the mental component of the people also, that yes, you should be using the toilets even in the rural areas where they considered this concept that going on in the agricultural field is considered as a good fertilizer, right? But was it possible, despite the effective and the cognitive uh, attitudinal change, was it possible to bring in the behavioral change in the people? It was little hard, but what government did over here, government, to nudge it tried to nudge the behavior of the people. First, we have seen in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan that there had been Vanar Senas, right? There had been, you have seen in that ads in Doordarshan that somebody who is coming with a lota All the students of the school, they are running after him, they're teasing. Darwaza Band Karo campaign, right? All these things are creating this awareness generation, and these are trying to persuade the people or develop that sensitization drive towards the Clean India campaign. Is it clear? So this is how slowly behavioral change or the action oriented change is coming in the people, and we have reached, the government has reached the a good number of target of open defecation free villages in India. ABC model theory is clear. Now this you can apply in your corruption part also, that how it is very much essential to nudge the behavior of the bureaucrat by internal measures, by external measures, to bring in the complete behavioral change leading to transparency and accountability in the government. Is it clear? Now let me again discuss with you over here. This effective over here, it is the emotional component. Okay, it is what we feel. It is the feeling which is linked to the attitude object. I feel happy when I see greenery. This is what I was trying to say. I feel at peace. Negative example. Dave feels fear when he sees a snake. His emotional component is over here fear. Here emotional component is happy. Okay. Cognitive, okay, let's take behavioral. Behavioral is what is the action you take, what you do after that. You start running, or Dave starts screaming, right? You plant the trees regularly, you go and participate in the plantation, right? Cognitive over here is your mental component, basically what you are thinking, right? Snakes are dangerous. I have developed that mental construct that snakes are dangerous, or greenery is good for environment. Is it clear? Now this is the structure of attitude. This is how the factors and the structures of attitude. Now, there in 1960s, there was a psychologist. His name was Daniel Kutz, and he had given his functional theory of attitudes, and he says that the attitudes, they are determined by the functions which by which they serve us. Okay, and he says that the first function which by which the attitudes serve us is the knowledge function. Okay, says that suppose a citizen is supporting the RTI Act. This is the knowledge component, that a citizen is aware of his rights, right? Where as a very enlightened citizen, you know about the citizen charter bill. You know that you can go to a PIO and raise a grievance against your uh, any kind of complaint, right? So that is the knowledge function, right? Where he knows that via RTI you can get to know the information. This classic example we have seen in Jan Sunwai. Okay, we have seen in Jan Sunwai, which has led to implementation of transparency in Manrega rules in the Rajasthan area. Is it clear? Exact implementation and strong implementation of RTI has led to the transparency and accountability in the governance change, a positive attitudinal change. That was the utility of this function. Second function over here is basically of utilitarian approach. Okay, here attitudes, they help us to gain the rewards or avoid the punishment, right? There is an employee who is working in the department, okay, and he supports the workplace safety policies in order to avoid the penalties, right? Now again you see this lies, now this development of attitude. Okay, an employee is in an organization, he is adapting to that attitude, right, via the perspective of reward and punishment theory. This change or this function lies in the utility of the act done. Okay, third third factor which Daniel Kutz has given, he says that ego defensive, right? First of all, the attitude that protect our self-esteem or justify our action. You will see many of the senior players in your preparation, they will say you कि अब तुमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, हमसे नहीं हुआ तो तुमसे कैसे होगा, right? You will find such people in your journey. There will be some people, mentors, who will be motivating you. Yes, you can do it. But there will be some who will always demotivate you. So that demotivating part, okay, that student who is downplaying that UPSC exam is biased, and then many seniors, they start saying, the veterans, I use the word, they start saying, oh, there was a Pooja Khedkar case, right? So such things are happening in the system, and ye and wo. So they are trying to have that ego defensive. We could not do this, right? Because of this thing, they try to put the blame shift. So this is also one of the function how the attitude is depicted. Now, another part which Daniel Kutz has given is the value expressive component. Here, basically, you can say, suppose there's a match going on between India and some country X, you can say Pakistan or Bangladesh, and you wear a jersey which is uh, representing Team India, and you are hooting for Team India. So that is your value expression. You are showing it via that, right? So over here, it is said that an individual supporting a campaign for gender equality, or you are running the marathons for awareness of regarding cancer patients, right? That is your value expression, that is your attitude towards it. These are the four theories which Daniel Kutz has given, okay, how you have to use in the exam when you will be writing your answers indoors. I will be checking, and in your answers I will be telling you, and I'll be guiding you in the mentor session, that how these theories you have to put in the case studies and the exams, not very imposingly way, but in a very organic way. If any case study is coming there, so you can mention according to the ABC model, and you can bifurcate the case study into ABC, right? This comes with practice. When you're writing 50 questions at least, then you will learn how to do this, okay? Now let's very quickly see. We have discussed so much that attitude is this, attitude is that. Now let's understand that what are the other psychological constructs which are associated with the attitude. Now draw this diagram over here, that initially there is a belief system, okay? And this belief system, in my yesterday's class also I have discussed. This system, basically, it, okay, I'm not able to draw the diagram. Understand, this belief system, it objectifies into your value system, right? And this value system, it becomes your attitude. And when this is further objectified and consolidated, it becomes your behavior. I'll draw it here. What is this belief? I believe that honesty is the best policy. Let me take an example for you over here. My belief, my mental conviction, my mental predisposition is that honesty is the best policy. That's my belief. So, my development of my value system over here is that honesty is a virtue, integrity is a professional virtue in both personal and professional life. Probity is a procedural integrity. That is what I develop in my value system. Now, in my belief, value, and then all this leads to attitude formation. It leads to my positive, strong attitude towards the virtue, which is value, which is honesty. And then it will be depicted in my behavior, because that is my outwardly expression, right? It will be depicted in my behavior. I wanted to draw the diagram like this. My pen is not aligned. It will be depicted in my daily to daily approach, and not only in my personal life, when you will, not only in your personal life, but when you will become a bureaucrat, implementation of the government scheme with the transparency and accountability will be done, and this will lead to ethical good governance. Is it clear? Now, see over here, honesty is always the best policy. This is your belief. Value over here is that Honesty is important virtue. It is a guiding principle. Okay. Attitude over here is I like honest people. I uh, I avoid to lie or to have those methods which are compromising my attitude towards honesty. Okay, that's a positive attitude. Behavior is that you have seen in a bureaucrat, Ashok Khemka. He has been an officer of very high honesty, very high personal integrity. Is it clear? I would like to discuss this basically again over here. See, belief. I believe that cleanliness is essential to health. So I start prioritizing cleanliness in as a core principle in my life. Mahatma Gandhi has said that cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And then there's development of positive attitudinal change, and I try to keep my environment clean, right? And what do? I start participating in the cleanliness, right? I myself make ensure I myself make I make myself accountable and ensure that the waste disposal has been done properly. Is it clear? This you guys can see, right? Another example over here. Now, I believe, okay, this is regarding the corruption. I believe in transparency, and I believe that this transparency is going to reduce corruption in the government. Okay, so basically, my value system over here, which is developing, is accountability. The foundational value in civil services, because of my belief, is accountability. And then I support RTI and e-governance as a bureaucrat, right? This is going to lead to transparency and accountability. And and for the external expression, what happens that I start using RTI. I ensure that in my district, not only RTIs but also social audits are being conducted by the NGOs and by the SCOs. Is it clear? Now, another question over here which can be asked: what is attitude and how it is? What is the difference between attitude and behavior? Now, understand that attitude is a psychological construct. It is something which is internal, which is in your mind. I've already told you. Just say, I, uh, I have attitude. I have compassionate attitude towards pets. Okay, that's my attitude. Somebody doesn't like dogs, but I like dogs. That's my positive attitude. I like cleanliness. I've given this example multiple times. Okay, I like traveling, right? So that's my attitude. That's my internal construct. And my behavior is something external. If I like pets, I'm going to either donate in some kind of pet organization, I'm going to adopt some pet which I have done, right? So that is the behavioral. I just don't say, but I also do it. This is your action. See, it is your action oriented approach. You are doing that. This is your thought oriented approach. What you think, okay, what you think or feel, that is the attitudinal part. What you do actually, I think that I should be a IS officer, right? That is good. Everybody can think that's a very positive attitude. You should aim really high. But what you should do, please, that's the thing. Please cover your syllabus. Please start, do the answer writing. Take the help of the right mentors. Ultimately, it is only you who is going to help you. Nobody is coming to help. The sooner you understand this, the faster you get the selection. Okay, you just need the right guidance, but it is you who have to do. Your behavior should be aligned to your examination. Is it clear? uh okay, so inside the core over here is belief. Then on the belief we develop the value. I believe in honesty, or that honesty is the best policy, so I develop the value of honesty and integrity. And this value, honesty in personal life, integrity and probity in professional life, this is seen in my attitude in the government services, right? Probity in governance, accountability in governance, ushering over there, and in my behavior also, when I am implementing the schemes at a ground level, then the welfare distribution of the scheme is implemented in a very fair and just manner, because my belief is honesty, my belief is justice. Is it clear? I think I have explained a lot with a lot of examples over here. Okay. Again, I have a belief that all the humans are equal. Okay. I believe that everybody is equal. So for me, again, equality becomes a value over here. And then I support reservation for the underprivileged, those who have faced social and historical injustices. And behavior, in my company, I hire those candidates who have diverse background, right? Who are talented and have diverse background. That depicts that all the humans are equal. I'm providing justice to all in my company. Now, this is all we have discussed about attitude. What are the various psychological constructs related to it? Let's see certain theories that how attitude can be formed. The first theory over here is your classical conditioning or Pavlovian or respondent theory over here, right? So basically what happens over here is that you learn over here by association. One thing over here is passive, okay, and one is reflexing. For example, apart from this, suppose there is a celebrity and he is sitting in a Hawaiian beach, and he is drinking some Mountain Dew, some Coca-Cola, and all these things. So the kind of conditioning every time you see, right? Every time you see, you associate with that sitting on the beach and having Coca-Cola. It gives you that attitudinal formation that this is a you develop that attitudinal formation for that drink, that this is very eventful or this is very enjoyable, right? This is how you are adapting to that attitude. The drink is there and the advertiser is over there, right? So basically it is appealing to you emotionally over here, right? For example, if I talk about flag hosting, okay, what happens, this is emotionally appealing the people for the spirit of patriotism. Is it clear? Another theory over here is, okay, so understand that classical conditioning over here is basically the emotional component. Now, in the operant conditioning, we see that there is a process of reward and punishment. If one of your friends, okay, he is smoking cigarettes and he is shamed in the public, oh, why are you smoking cigarette over here? Now that is going to again give him this negative feedback that public is saying me, it's shaming me. So definitely he is going to develop that attitude, at least in public places. I don't have to smoke openly, right? So, and if you are doing good work, it is rewarding you. So this method is known as operant conditioning. I've already discussed above in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. We have seen the Darwaza Band Karo campaign, right? We have seen Vanar Sinas, those people who had been moving in lotus, they had been followed up by the people, they have been shamed up by the children, right? So that again brings in the attitudinal change. Observational learning, observational learning or modeling. So this is basically learned by watching the role models over here. The citizens, like we have seen, we have observed that many of the IS officers who have been working for the disaster management activities, or you can say over here, example of Armstrong Pym, right, which has been inspiring other officers, right, who had built 100 kilometers road in Manipur. Is it clear? So this is by observation you learn. Then you learn or you built in attitudinal change by group or cultural norms, right? So when you are at a polling booth, you are standing in a line, you are queuing, right? So it becomes a norm. It's a respectable attitude towards the democratic process of election. That's the democratic participation of the citizen. Is it clear? In the election, that's a group activity, that's a cultural norm. So by social conformity, you are learning this. Now, also you learn, you develop the attitudinal change by media, if media is propagating, that's why it is said that media should be propagating right information. Okay, education, books, digital content, right? Without the direct experience, you are learning about the things over here. So basically, just by merely reading about corruption, right? Merely hearing the stories, you adapt to this, right? That you adapt to this transparent, pro positive attitude that there should be ethical governance. Is it clear? So, these are basically the theories of attitudinal formation. Of these, the first two are very important, which you are going to use in your for your examination purposes. Okay, because they ask you this question, then how are you going to bring in the change in the behavior of the people? Then you are going to use those theories and you're going to say that we are by operant theory we can do this, by conditioning theory we can do this, by informational theory we can do this. This is how you have to use it in answer writing. Now this is very interesting. Now everything has been done, but this attitudinal change which you are asking people to have, you're asking to bring in the cleanliness drive, you're asking them to use the toilet. Is it, now the question over here is always, this is important, is it always leading to the behavioral change? The question is this. Understand this by example, that I have a friend, okay? First day, we go to a fitness drive. We have this attitude that we have to be fit all throughout our life, right? Both of us, X and Y and Z, we all go to this fitness drive. But all of a sudden, next day, and that was a free fitness drive, so we are going there. Okay, 2 days we are going, 3 days. For a week, it's a free fitness drive, so we are going. Then all of a sudden, uh, let's say X, she has a positive attitude, but then she does not go and joins the gym or the Zumba class or the fitness drive, which we're trying to convert the people into some fitness activity. Now, did she adapt that in her behavior? No. She just went and she just participated in the drive, right? So there are people who show this attitude. There will be, oh, we support Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Abhiyan. But do we actually go and do things on the ground level? Now, this is the whole thing. You talk about corruption. Do you try to bring any behavioral change? So, as a bureaucrat, when you will be in your district, can you bring that behavioral change in your work culture? Can you bring that behavioral change in the people around you? Can you bring the behavioral change in the welfare schemes of the people around you? Right? How you are going to implement that? So basically over here, I have taken this one example over here, that there are certain factors which do prevent the behavior from aligning with the attitude, right? There are certain constraints, there is social pressure, there is fear of consequences, there is procrastination, there is laziness, right? So in this public health campaign on exercise, I have seen, although the person has the positive attitude, but the behavioral is still unchanged over here, right? Because maybe lack of time, she studies so much in the library, maybe there is laziness in her, maybe there are other priorities over here, right? So that, because of which she could not inculcate exercise in her daily life. Another examples for you I have brought over here. Suppose again there are three friends, okay? All these three friends, A, B, and C, they have a very positive attitude that corruption is wrong. Okay, they want that the government should be bringing more transparency. The government should be more welfare oriented. The government should be more pro people because it's a democracy, right? So in this, what happens that the first friend A over here, okay, he feels very motivated, okay, and what happens, he believes in civic activism and he goes to Jantar Mantar and he participates in the drive. Okay, so this is depicting a strong attitude and some attitude which has converted into the action oriented behavior. Is it clear? Now, there is a friend B, okay, he also disapproves of this corruption. Okay, but he is not inclined to take any physical such action. Rather, he something types on the social media and Twitter, and he says that corruption is wrong. That is what he does. It's a very limited behavior. Right? See, it is not turning into behavioral change everywhere. And there is C. He is talking. There are a lot of talks, but he is not doing anything. He just goes out outing with the friends and watches a movie, right? So you see that attitude. The question over here is not always leads to behavioral change. What is required to bring this or to convert this attitudinal change into the behavioral change? There are certain methods, right? By which we do that. First of all, it is cognitive restructuring, right? Second of all, it is social facilitating. Third of all, it is pro-social behavior. These are certain methods. How can you link the attitude to the behavioral change over here? What is cognitive restructuring? Okay, basically it is changing of the negative beliefs by re-evaluating or reiterating them. Cognitive means mentally deep down the bureaucrat has to be filled mentally that internally that corruption is wrong. Internally he has to be always be motivated. The why of the purpose, the bureaucrat has to know that why I am in the services. This why is going to change or to bring in the cognitive restructuring, and he is going to develop that attitude of bringing in change in the system or bringing in transparency and accountability in system, and that is going to be reflected in his behavior. Is it clear? Okay, another thing, again and again when we reiterate, so a health conscious person, he quits the smoking and he reduces this mental dissonance, because there are certain people who go to the gym, and I've seen while coming from the gym they will be smoking cigarettes. What happens? That's just one cigarette only. But now, is it aligning with their attitude and the behavior? You are health conscious person, and then again you are taking this free radicals, right? So this cognitive dissonance can be resolved by a restructuring of the mind. I was reading a book on ethics and governance only. There was a book of NBT, and it talked a little bit about the SRM model, that how by visualization and meditation techniques there can be a stress reducer for the bureaucrats, because there is a lot of stress on the bureaucrats, and how by cognitive restructuring you can change those who are highly corrupt in the system, because you cannot change someone by just putting prevention of corruption act. You require that internal motivation, that internal change, right? That question of why are you doing this, that should be very clear. In fact, for all those students who are not absolutely writing my answers indoors, that has to be seen. Again, I'll explain you with this. Attitude, yes, you are saying you are taking the classes, but your behavior will be seen when you will be writing my daily answer writing. You will be posting them, and you will be asking me what improvements I have to make, right? That will be noticed in your behavioral change. So I want you to also develop this. I want you to develop this habit cognitively, that I have to write the answers, because if you're not writing today, imagine after prelims you're not going to get time. This is a very good time before uh, your prelims that you write the answers. As much as you write over here, you will develop that thing subconsciously, and then you're going to feed that in the examination. Is it clear? Now, social facilitation. That is why students join library. That he is studying, she is studying, let me also study. Right? You have seen that people perform the task better when they are in a group. There has to be a drive in the office, okay, in the government office, then in the work culture where people are working together, and there is an awareness drive going on that there should be corruption free campaign. Right? So even in the cyclist, you see, if there is one person who is cycling, he's slow. There are 2%, there are 10%, there are 50%. There is spirit of competitiveness, right? This is observed in social facilitation. Pro-social behavior. Now, this is pro-social behavior is totally based on the adaptation of the practice which is known as altruism. Right? It means that you are donating something out of just donating. You don't want anything in return because of that. That kind of social behavior. That is, an officer delivers the relief after hours without expecting any credit. He's doing because it is his duty. It is his duty. He is doing duty for his duty's sake. The deontological perspective, right? Over here. So yes, you can say that attitudinal change, it does lead to behavioral change, right? When what happens that the attitude is internally consistent, every day you start writing answers, right? First day does, you will face the issue. Second day, third day, 10th day, you will be so good. And by 30th day, internally you are consistent, that motivation has to be done. And this will be seen in your answer writing examination. You will see a spike in marks over there if you are very consistent and honest with your studies over here, irrespective of this subject and other subjects also. Repeat it through the action, just not talking. Okay, I have joined this course, but I'm not participating there. Action is required. I support Beti Bachao, but I'm not actually going there and I'm not actually participating in that. I have a daughter, sister in her also, but I'm like, oh, what I'll do, I have to give her dowry also, what I'll spend in her, what should I? People have this mindset. Coming from the patriarchal family, they have this mindset, right? Now, is it clear? We have discussed the ABC model you have to use in case studies. We have discussed the Daniel Katz theory. We have seen that how thoughts and behaviors are associated, right? We have seen how they can be made associated attitude to the behavior. Is it clear? Now, moral attitude, right? Simply, you can just write down over here. First of the moral attitude, it is guided by the moral virtues or the moral value system. You can see the first moral attitude over here is reverence. Reverence is deepest respect for the human values. Okay. Example, a forest officer. He is protecting the sacred groves in Meghalaya. Now, this is out of his respect, his reverence towards the environment, his reverence towards the community, towards the indigenous community over there. Is it clear? Now, second over here is faithfulness. Okay, it is the attitude of loyalty, commitment, and steadfastness. For example, a civil servant who continues to serve in remote hardship postings without seeking transfer shows faithfulness. Somebody who is posted in Bastar region, very very hard. Somebody who is posted in border POK region. Some army official who is serving in Seattle Glacier, right? So that is faithfulness. Veracity. Veracity means being absolutely true. Okay, the commitment to speak, to report, and to act honestly without distortion of anything. So here, the district magistrate, he is presenting accurate flood damage data. Fourth over here is goodness. It refers to moral inclination towards kindness, empathy, right? This is very simple. Now, what are the political attitudes? They can ask you a question over here. Now, this is when the people, they support nationalism, right? Or they support political liberalism, and they are critical of political conservatism, and they are critical of political radicalism. So as a democratic government, participatory democratic government, understand over here that dissent is a essential component of democracy. You have an open voice until and unless you are interfering into others harming actions, which I have taught you in John Stuart Mill's theory of harm's principle. Until and unless you are giving some hate speech, right? Or you are criticizing some marginalized section or you are talking ill about a community. Till then, right, there are certain restrictions. Till then, dissent is essentially there is respect of views, there is plurality in democracy, in the political attitudes. Like we see over here, you can see in terms of corruption, there should be positive political attitude, zero tolerance policy should be there, right? Voting behavior over here, voting should be based on the governance perspective. It should be based on the performance outcome, how the government has done, right? Inclusiveness. So basically, the public should always see that even the minority rights are being included in the majoritarianism, right? Again, political participation. Okay, is everybody participating? Is the NGOs, the self-help groups, the SCOs, the students, are there debates over here, open debates, open discussions, right? Okay, instilling of democratic values and social harmony. Okay, this is not very significant, you can study. Now, another topic which UPSC has mentioned over here is attitude and social influence. So how this is going to be brought in over here is that, first of all, what happens, there is, first step is compliance. Okay, first step over here is compliance. In compliance, you can write down over here. Okay, in compliance, I will make some rules, okay, and I will impose it on the citizens that you do this. For example, I'll make some traffic rules, okay, and I will ask the citizen, why don't you wear helmets? If you don't wear helmets, I'm going to put you a challan over here. In terms of corruption, what I'm going to do, there is Prevention of Corruption Act for the officials. If you are caught in some this graft activities, if you're caught in this, then you are going to be punished. This is a kind of compliance. This is something which is external check. Is it clear? Now, another one over here is identification. What happens when people actually start identifying their attitude with the actually the behavior I want to bring in the people? When people start accepting that it is their duty to bring in cleanliness, it is their duty or it is their civic duty to wear helmets, that is identification. Okay, internalization, right? Internalization is basically when citizens completely align without any kind of external compliance from above. They internalize this value that cleanliness is good for public health and cleanliness is good for environment. Is it clear? So these are three stages: compliance, right, the first stage. Second is the identification stage. Third is internalization stage, by which we see that there is attitudinal change. Okay, another topic which has been mentioned in your syllabus is attitude and persuasion. So what is this term persuasion over here? If you remember, during the Greeks time, the Greek philosophy, okay, they were always debate about logic versus emotion. Okay, there was a debate about logic versus rhetoric. We say rhetoric, or we can say a narrative. And this logic during that time was the critical method or critical analysis. Socratic method, you can say over here, right? So persuasion is basically a way of communication with the people. Now, this persuasion or this appeal can be via logic over here, via facts and debates over here, via Socratic method, via the critical analysis over here. This persuasion or communicating with the people can be via appeal to the emotions over here, right? This appeal is rhetoric or the narrative which is created in the society, right? Taking dowry is wrong. And ethos is over here via credibility or trust. Is it clear? It is via internalization of the values or via the ethical development of the society. Is it clear? This is external, and this is internal. But in India, the general masses or the public is influenced more by the ethos rather than the logic. You see, matlab, in Indian, in all around the world, not only Indians, the people always they're attracted to the emotional appeal of anything. If some celebrity is endorsing something, they'll be like, oh, let's go and buy that. Because that is the classical conditioning theory which we have studied above. If some celebrity is sitting in a Hawaiian beach and he's endorsing some drink, then what is going to happen? All of a sudden, automatically, they are going to adapt that behavior. Is it clear? But now again, there is a difference. Okay, this is also one term. There's a difference between persuasion and coercion. One more thing, by this persuasion, government is trying to bring change in the system, right? For example, let us talk about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Again and again I'm talking because the past year question has been asked about this. In the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, I have seen that there has been a appeal, okay? There has been a appeal emotionally to the people. There has been usage of celebrity endorsement, right? And sometimes Akshay Kumar is coming in. You see in the Padman movie also they have shown over here. So this is appealing to the people. They are creating that narrative, but this time the narrative is true. Okay, that's a positive narrative which they are creating. कहते हैं ना, हवा बना देना, positive. They're appealing by logic. Why cleanliness is important, right? And what happens with all these things? Automatically, what happens that people are seeing the outcomes. Government is supplementing them with the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, right? Gram Ujjwala, not Ujjwala, Pradhan Mantri Affordable Housing Schemes in the rural and urban components. So they are not only saying this, they're also paying for the making of toilets in the rural areas, right? Supplementing with all these things. So what is happening because of this? People are developing that credibility. They are developing that civic ethical duty that yes, we should go and we should use the toilets, right? This is how the behavioral change is brought in the people. Persuasion. But now understand that persuasion is very much different from coercion. Persuasion is voluntary. Suppose I say, give up the LPG cylinder. Okay, my brother, he asked my mother that why are you taking this LPG cylinder? The government is saying if you can give it, why don't you give it? It is your civic duty to do that. So it is not that she could have avoided. Okay, why will I give? I am getting it like 300-400 rupees cheaper. But it is voluntary, okay? It is voluntary and it is reason based. If you are above BPL, you are not supposed to have it. Now, government is not forcing you to do it, but you do it yourself, right? It engages cooperation. It creates the environment of cooperation. Is it clear? But coercion is like, I force you, I'll fine you if you don't pay the helmet, right? So that is something. Coercion, it's a forced compliance and out of fear, oh, the traffic police is going to charge me, I have to pay the challan. Is it clear? So persuasion is clear how it is different from coercion. Okay? Persuasion is one of the methods by which we can bring in change in the governance by its application at the ground level. Is it clear? Now, persuasion over here, it can be seen through two routes. Okay? The first one over here is central route. Okay, suppose I'm giving you this example. Okay, I like two cars. Okay, you'll understand this. I like Thar, and I can say I like XUV 700. Now see example over here. Persuasion. One way will be with a logic and evidence based route, or you can say I like. Okay. One can be evidence or logic based over here, that whenever you are buying the car, you should see the safety features first. you should see its utility. If you are a family of 7, then you can buy XA700, right? If you are looking for the safety first, you can buy Tata Punch, you can buy Thar anytime, the older metallic Thar, which not metallic, the older iron made Thar it was, right? You can buy Scorpio. So it depends. Now the argument over here is logic. Now if I go to a showroom, okay, and if I go to a showroom and I want to buy Audi or I want to buy Mercedes, assuming that we have that much of money, you and me, we have that much of money, given a choice, okay, so if I'm getting appeal, oh the features are really good, right? Utility, जितनी चादर है उससे ज्यादा पैर फैला रहे हैं, मतलब you don't require Audi, you don't require Mercedes, your work can be done over here with a Thar. Safety features, yes. Utility, yes. 4 by 4 wheels, yes. And why do you need this? But if you're going and buying these, then you are getting affected by the passion to buy, or by the emotions, or by the celebrities endorsement over here. This is a very short term method. Okay, today you will be affected, but in the long run you will be like कि जितना cost नहीं है तो उससे ज़्यादा तो इसका maintenance का खर्चा है, right? But if you go by logic, evidence, or reasoned arguments, then it is a long lasting change, right? For example, again over here I have discussed that in the car advertisement you are going to see the safety feature, you're going to see the rationality, the efficiency, the mileage, right, the usage, then you're going to go by the central root theory. And if you are getting affected, let's take about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, getting back to you the governance perspective. If you are getting affected that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is going to lead to cleanliness, then it is central root theory. If you're getting affected in long term, it is going to bring in good health. It is going to lead to clean environment. If you're getting motivated by that and you are following that, it is a central root theory of persuasion. If you are following Swachh Bharat Abhiyan based on the celebrity endorsement, right? Some celebrity has done, and you're just saying, oh, he's doing, so I have to do. So that is a shortcut method. That's a peripheral route of getting influenced or getting persuaded, right? So government should always, they do try to influence by central route, but our major part of the society is such which gets appealed by the emotions. People are more influenced by the emotion. So government, when it tries to bring in any kind of scheme, suppose polio free campaign scheme, it is going to give you logic, but it is also going to give you emotion. The advertisement which is done, it is trying to persuade people by that. Is it clear? So definitely it leads to ethical good governance over here. Let's see 1-2 questions, right? How you are going to attempt. Attitude is important component that goes as input in the development of humans. How to build a suitable need for a public servant. Now, what kind of attitude is required for a public servant? First of all, right? Developments of human. First, you have to define over here that what is attitude. Attitude is a psychological construct, and how it goes into the development of humans. You have to give the example where if somebody has a compassionate attitude, if somebody has empathetic attitude, that will be depicted in his actions. One, you can example show over here, some personal example, some you can give attitudinal example of Mother Teresa, some example you can quote. How to build a suitable attitudinal need for a public servant. Okay? So if a public servant has the attitude of being honest, that will be depicted in his decision making, right? And how to build it, we have already discussed that how the attitudinal change will be built or seen in the behavioral change via cognitive restructuring, right? When he actually tries to implement, because being honest, right, having that attitude of having a corruption free environment, that is seen in the correct implementation of Right to Information Act. Even if somebody is coming to his office, right, he is trying to redress the grievances of the citizens, right? How to build a suitable need. So you are going to have cognitive restructuring over there. Over here, very classic example for bringing in the attitudinal change has been Mission Karm Yogi. You can write the example of Mission Karm Yogi over here, right? How government is trying to build a capacity building skill civil servant ready, right? Another question. A positive attitude is considered to be an essential characteristic of a civil servant. Yes. Do mention over here in one line what is attitude, what positive attitude, who is often required to function under extreme stress, right? What contributes to positive attitude in the person? Now, what contributes to the positive attitudes? The question is asking about the factors leading to the positive attitudinal development in the person. We have discussed above. Okay. How could social influence and persuasion, see both, contribute to the success of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? Social influence, we had seen there were 3 degrees. One was compliance. What I was doing in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, I was trying to comply the people, right? I can, in compliance, I can give them a reward and punishment theory. Then I was trying to internalize the people. When they realize the value that yes, Swachh Bharat Mission Abhiyan is required. Then what I was trying to do, complete internalization, right? Complete internalization of the values or identification. The last one was the identification stage in the social influence when people realize it is their civic duty. It is out of their duty that they have to do that. Persuasion, what government is doing, both the methods, long route, short route. A long route via logic, right? That health is important part. You should bring in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Short route, what government is doing by bringing the celebrity endorsement. Is it clear? So this is it about attitude, right? Please attempt the question and then I will tell you how you have to apply these theories. Okay. And in the next session, we are going to discuss about the aptitude. Now, attitude we have discussed is the mental psychological construct. Aptitude, which we are going to discuss, is the already innate characteristic which is present. And what kind of aptitude has to be required in the civil servant, the foundational values that has to be learned as it is, right? First of all, I'll try to ensure that you learn the syllabus over there. Those values you have to fit in your answers. Now, apart from that, understand which is greater, attitude or aptitude. Over here, understand that somebody who has a good attitude and an average aptitude, okay, he will be preferred and he will be hired and incorporate or anywhere he will be more successful. But somebody who has high aptitude, very intelligent, but his attitude is like low, he's very lazy, he won't be much preferred. This we are going to discuss in our another session. Thank you.